Welcome everyone to another live recording of the Business Travel 360 Linking the Travel Industry podcast, where we discuss travel industry news you're talking about on LinkedIn. My name is Rian and I'm one of your hosts today. I'm a co-founder at Agent2Agent, where we provide operational reporting and data automation solutions for travel sellers. So if that sounds of interest, please get in touch. As usual, I'm joined by Ash and Anne to help me discuss the stories from last week. And you are in a different travel location again today. You're going to have to tell us. Over to you.
Yes, welcome everybody. I'm in Frankfurt now, trying to head back home eventually, but catching up with some of my best friends who live in Frankfurt. So welcome everybody. I'm Anne. I'm an independent consultant with LeapShift, and I'm happy to help you with anything related to distribution, NDC, one order, or whatever it might be on this journey to solve the puzzle. Over to you, Ash.
Thanks, Anne. Hi, everyone. My name is Ash, and I'm the host of a weekly business travel podcast called What's Up in Business Travel, where we give you only the important updates in under 15 minutes. Additionally, I'm the Vice President of Client Success at Traxo, and this is Linking the Travel Industry.
So we've already had a shout out there from Susan in Sydney. I can't believe you stay up for this, Susan. It must be very late there. So thank you so much, Susan from Magnatech. Thank you for listening in and being a regular guest. And Laurentia, thank you for joining us from Romania. That's a bit more of a sensible time zone to be in to listening to us. So thank you. And we do love having you here on a regular basis. We appreciate that. So if you're new to this event, the format is literally a discussion of last week's most engaging travel industry stories on LinkedIn. Thank you, Aman, in India, for also giving us your comment there and for listening in from India. Such a global audience we have. We love it. So a story that I forgot about in my news listings last week, because technically the source of this discussion is my post that I do on a Friday where I've summarized the stories. But for some reason, and there is a reason actually, but I won't share it, but I did forget to put it in. But the news is that Sabre and Turkish Airlines have made up. Mm-hmm. Finally, I was trying to read how long it was that Turkish was off Sabre, but it was a long time. Mm-hmm. And so the news now is that Turkish Airlines is back on Sabre. But Anne, it's about high time, right? It needed to have happened.
Absolutely. Of course, happy to see this. And I hope that the deal is good for Turkish Airlines.
Yes, we do hope so. We didn't see too much about this in the news. Ash, did it hit the headlines there?
Yeah, I did. Well, 10 months is the timeline for them not to be in the GDS,
wow.
And Sabre specifically. For me, I'm kind of wondering a couple of things. One is, why are they returning? What's in it for them? If you've been out for 10 months, you've kind of proven a few points along the way, if that's what you're trying to do. Secondly, as far as the GDSs are concerned, I mean, Turkish is in Travelport at Amadeus with the surcharge. I think they're going to come to Sabre. Maybe the surcharge might be higher than Travelport at Amadeus, is my thinking, because there has to be a penalty for Sabre to not have done this deal yet from the eyes of Turkish Airlines. So We'll see how that plays out. I would imagine it being higher than $24.
Probably is, yeah. I spoke to some of my customers who are delighted about this. For them, it's just about getting back to a process that they're used to and getting on with it. They are delighted. So it's also good for the travel sellers. Dan, thank you for your comments. Dan Isufi there from London, listening in and also saying to us it was a long 10 months that Turkish was off Sabre. First of my stories, it was about JetBlue that's going to pull out of Miami as part of I said restructure, but it's a bit genius to say restructure. I mean, this is about them going through a business plan rescue and getting themselves back on track. I saw it in a post by AirPro News where they just talked about the fact that they were going to draw from Miami as of September. And it's quite a big decision for them because, of course, that's a major. But Ash, I'm sure you have a view on this, which I don't. So tell us what you think of this.
So keep in mind that JetBlue flies into Fort Lauderdale. They have 6 daily flights from JFK.
Okay.
So Fort Lauderdale is close enough to Miami. Miami also has a good place, at least coming from Chicago markets for United Airlines. And of course, we know that there's a partnership called Blue Skies between JetBlue and United. So I think there's a little bit of coordination there. I know everybody's focusing on the profitability. I mean, everybody does well in Miami because of the opportunities that Miami presents. So for me, I don't think this is profitability. This is just alliance of their routes with United and to optimize that. And Fort Lauderdale actually is one of their major hubs for JetBlue as well. There's also a lot of flights from there to the Caribbean. There's enough there for JetBlue to play with. And I think Miami just became one of those extras.
We did talk about this last week. The closure of the Qatari airspace and subsequently the other regions as well had a major effect on a very busy airport. I mean, Doha Airport is incredibly busy. There was something like 100 flights in the air who had to be diverted. 20,000 plus passengers were affected. So there were lots of talk about how Qatar Airways and let's not forget Hamad International Airport handled the situation. I saw a few posts where they didn't do too well. There was a post, especially by one family who showed up at Heathrow Airport, and they were told the Qatar flight only takes back Qatari residents at this point. You know, in the grand scheme of things, we didn't see major disaster stories here about people being left out. And so there was an interesting post here done by the Qatar Airways CEO where he just talked about how appreciative he was of the chain of command, if you want, and all the parties involved. So, and this must have been a logistical nightmare to handle, but they did.
Oh, gosh.
They did okay, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they did certainly more than okay. When you're that vulnerable, you have that, the one hub and you're affected.
Yeah.
It shows really how fragile it can be. They did a good job.
Then we just want to take a moment before we go on. We're not finished. We've got a few more stories, but just to turn to the audience and say thank you for giving us your time on a Monday, especially Susan in Sydney. Really appreciate that. But no, thank you to everybody for giving us your time. Our purpose here at Linking the Travel Industry is to link as many of us as possible. We believe more dialogue, more exchanges of ideas definitely is needed in our industry. So if you haven't given us your comments already today, please do so, and we'll bring your name on screen because that also helps increase your connectivity to others. And you might receive a few extra requests today. Please accept those. We encourage you to, again, just tell us where you're listening from or give us a comment and we'll bring that on screen. But really it is just to say thank you for giving us your time on a Monday. Let's get back to the stories. This one tickled me quite a bit. When you're reading about in Catalonia, in Spain, around Barcelona, where people are not happy with the overtourism, and there's a lot of issues there with overtourism, and they're clamping down on who can have Airbnbs and boats that can visit, and all that stuff is happening. And then we see the news that despite all that, Barcelona's El Prat airport, and I know that airport very well, they've received 3.7 billion, and I don't know why the number is in dollars, because of course it's a euro destination, but it's about the same, so about $3.5 billion to expand the airport. And there was an interesting post there that I saw where they talked about the irony of that, they are fighting, over tourism, and yet they get this money. And that post was by somebody that worked at Deutsche Bahn, actually. And what are your thoughts on this? I'd be curious to hear.
I'm sort of astonished by this. And something that really fascinates me about Spain is the concentration around Madrid and Barcelona. I mean, Spain is a pretty large market, right? Yeah. It's got about 40 million people. But I don't understand why they just don't diversify the airports more. And I guess they're after connecting traffic, I assume, because like you said, tourists are not being treated very kindly in Barcelona. And
I can't see where that airport is going to need 3.5 billion because the airport's fine. I mean, it's a bit dated and it's a bit retro, but that's almost in these days. Improve some of the gates, maybe. I don't know what they're going to do with 3.5 billion. That is a lot of money.
I'm sure 1.7 billion of this will get lost somewhere along the way.
Go to a website.
But Rian, I think Anne's got a good point, right? I mean, why don't they put more focus in other places of Spain? I mean, Seville is a great spot. Why not a little bit of the West Coast? They should look at other markets in their own country as opposed to building.
Totally agree.
I'm show my age now, but all I remember about Seville is that it had one of the weirdest maximum permitted mileages in the fare calculations. It was a bit of an odd routing at all times, Seville. So there we go. This was an interesting one. The yearly travel tech show and business travel show took place, and well done. I saw some amazing stands. They looked really nice. There were some good shots and photos. I loved Mark Lenihan did a little walkthrough video, which I liked. That was a clever idea to do. Mark, if you're listening, well done. That was nice. But the reason why I did the comment in the post here is nothing major was announced, unless I'm about to be thumped by a comment from Ush.
No, nothing major was announced, so we're going to keep with that theme. I was a little disappointed, Rian. Yes. I echoed your sentiments on that. This is a major show. There's a lot of companies that go to this event, but it was kind of a dull moment. Could be that the marketing people are going to start writing their stuff this week, so we'll see some stuff next week.
We'll see. I mean, I'm going to do my own little plug now, but we didn't have a stand there, wasn't there? One of the best sessions apparently was the one where Alice Ferrari from Kite was in stage. And as it happens, we released a interview with Alice Ferrari from Kite. It's available at businesstravel360.com. It's a great interview. I do love talking to Alice because she just calls a spade and gets on with it, which I really like. But I did see some photos about that session that she was in, and that was apparently well praised.
I thought that was superb. And some of the stories that she told in that podcast are pretty incredible. Like, I did not know the history of some of those things myself. She's got such a different opinion about the industry and the way she sees it. She doesn't have the old school mindset that some of us have where we're holding on to some antique thoughts, right?
Yeah.
She comes in with that fresh face, and that's what we need in the industry, is new people with new ideas.
In that interview with Alice is available on businesstravel360.com. Go and have a listen. It's great. And any comments on Travel Tech Show, Business Travel Show? Did you see anything that blew your mind?
No, I've been away, as you know, on holidays, and I've tried to ignore as much as possible. I must say I'm a bit sort of surprised that there is so little that is new and exciting.
You picked a good time to take off because nothing happened, Anne, so you're good.
Nothing happened, exactly.
Yeah. This is a fascinating development. It's a little bit off from travel, but it does have a connection to travel, is that the Open Source Summit was held in Denver last week. And at this event, the announcement was made that Google is going to donate their what they call Agent2Agent protocol to the Linux Foundation. Now, this has some implications. I mean, the Agent2Agent is not travel agent to travel agent. This is just about bots interacting and communicating with each other. It has implications because in our industry, there's a lot of disconnected channels, and there are developments happening where one agent does their bit and engages with that supplier. And this protocol becoming open source has huge implications. The Open Travel Alliance was also at the Open Travel Summit, and they are becoming part of the Linux Foundation. So again, that's the connection where there's an impact potentially on travel. It may not look like an exciting story right now, but this has some big implications. I don't know if you have any comments, Anne.
This is the most exciting stuff I have seen in a long time. And you know, I've been talking about open source and trying to find ways of, we should really move towards API first, etc. So I keep hammering on about that. So yeah, this is pretty cool and exciting.
You know, Ash, when Ian says it's interesting, we know it's going to happen in about 2 years, right?
Now I have to read the whole article and get my mind around it. I looked at this one. I was like, no, this is a snoozer. I'm moving right on. I'm just wondering why Google is donating it. I mean, they must not think much of it or something.
It's something called for the greater good.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like Google.
Well, there is money in for
money.
Greater good. There is money. There comes a point, you know, there is a lot of money, we know, in the status quo.
Yes.
But the question is, how long can we just go on with the status quo?
Yeah.
And
I see this totally as a throw a stone in the bush and see what comes out. You know, let's see what the effect is here, because status quo is not working well. Let's disrupt it and see what happens. This is a very interesting move.
I'm sure there's a bunch of ads already in the code to pop up when this gets used.
Scandinavian Airlines is returning to India after 17 years of not flying to India, and they're going to announce a Copenhagen-Mumbai flight. And I was thinking, okay, great, that's fantastic. And then it says from June 2026. And why do they do this? Why can't they start flying there in October?
I know, but they got to announce something, right?
Ash, are you ready to go with SAS to India next year?
I was really disappointed when they said next year. I was thinking, okay, this is going to happen this summer because, as we know, the Indian market is exploding and there's a lot of opportunity there. So why delay a good thing? But clearly, SAS knows how to do that really, really well. They're not starting the service until next year.
So Travelodge was in the news. They are, according to the article in the Business Travel News Europe, expanding their TMC reach with an integration with Catanox. And then I had to go look up Catanox because that's not a name that is familiar to me. And effectively, Catanox is a platform that allows, you know, further integration and distribution of content. So with this deal, Travelodge is saying that they are expanding their ability for TMCs to make bookings. I didn't quite get how. I don't know if you did, Ash.
This is a total nonsense thing here. What the heck are they talking about? Because on one hand, you're expanding TMC reach. On the other hand, you're doing it with a API technology. Well, when was the last time a TMC used an API technology without a third-party solution like Concur? this has to be a OBT play, but the fact that they're saying this in the form that they're saying it in, Booking.com has the same thing with the TMCs to concur in other OPTs, just to bring in more hotel content. This whole thing with Travelodge thinking that somehow something amazing is going to happen, I feel like calling them and saying, hey, don't expect anything.
According to Travelodge sales director Nick Jacobs, this is going to significantly extend their reach to TMCs. I have to say the word is can. It says we can significantly extend their reach. So I'm sorry, Travelodge, we do call a spade on the show, but there you go. Any comments, Anne?
No, I'm just happy that we call a spade a spade. Yeah, we're pretty good at that.
Those were the stories on my list then. And do you have an extra story?
Something that caught my eye was that I can't believe this, but, Finnair are cancelling 900 flights.
I'm giving up, Anne, because you message me once a week, right? And you go, Finnair cancelled 300 flights this week. Finnair cancelled 140 flights. What's
How
left?
do they have so many flights is my first question.
I can't believe it's 4 days of strikes that they've announced. It's been going on forever, right? I mean, when did we start to talk about this? We talked about this for months.
Yeah, who is striking at Finnair? Yeah. Because all we hear is they're cancelling flights because of strikes. But there's no detail, there's no information, and very weird.
No, and there's no detail of progress, right? And you this is peak season, right? How do you manage this? Must be totally chaotic. And there you are in peripheral Europe. I mean, hey, it's not Frankfurt where you have all the alternatives in the world.
Ash, I think you have a story or two for us.
Speaking of canceled flights, this is actually a real cancellation of flights. Delta had a meltdown this past weekend. Apparently, a storm rolled through Atlanta, causing severe havoc in their entire network. 500 flights canceled on Saturday, 600 on Sunday. A lot of disappointed people this weekend. The other news, which I thought was kind of interesting, Canada is looking to open up their market to outside airlines. So a new study was released just this past week by the Competition Bureau of Canada that suggested that they allow foreign airlines to fly domestic routes. As we know, Canada market is dominated by Air Canada and WestJet in that order. We might see some new stuff happening very soon.
You might see Ryanair flying.
Move in. No, I was saying move in Tony Fernandez. I saw that AirAsia has all sorts of plans, right, to move into various markets.
It's on my list and I want to talk about it next week, but I can't wait. Yeah, you're right. They're doing some very interesting things with Middle East hubs and then onwards.
They're doing some really pretty cool stuff. Yeah, they are.
Kenneth is saying there's a lack of competition. Yeah, absolutely, Kenneth. So this will open it up. That will be very interesting.
Space News!
I'm just guessing, but maybe there's space news.
Well, this past week, Rian and Anne, the long-awaited Axiom Mission 4, which was delayed, took off on Wednesday from Cape Canaveral. The reason why this mission is so interesting is because it brings together a team from different countries. The US was represented, India was represented. This is a big move for India as well. And Poland and Hungary were also represented. So 4 astronauts flew up on Axiom Mission 4 to the ISS. They docked and everything went well. They should be coming back home in about a couple of weeks. But super exciting for Axiom to have pulled this off finally. They had a lot of issues with the SpaceX module, rocket issues, all sorts of things. They had to keep the astronauts in quarantine the whole time for 2 weeks. So that was a big deal. But I think that they learned a lot from this process. Shout out to Axiom for conducting a great mission in collaboration with missions of all those countries combined into one called Axiom 4.
Very nice. I wasn't aware of that at all, but that's why we have you on the show to remind us. So thank you for all of those who gave us your comments of where you're listening from. We do love it. So appreciate that and for giving us your time on a Monday. And Ash, thank you so much for your time. Over to you, Anne.
Thanks, everyone, for your time. And like Rian said, it's impressive that you're listening from all over. I can't believe Sydney. Thank you. Over to you, Ash.
All right. Thank you all for joining today's live recording of Linking the Travel Industry. We record this podcast live every week on Monday, and we ask that you share this event with others that you know. Chances are high that if you enjoyed today's session, those that you know will as well. If you ever miss the show because of time zone or availability, the show is available on businesstravel360.com. This is Linking the Travel Industry, signing off.